and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. So I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have a Sailor 1911 large, and this has a very special nib on it. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Black Ice, Alumilite. We have a Pelikan M800 Royal Gold Raden. We have a Pelikan M1000. This is the Raden Starlight. We have a Pelikan M1000 Raden Sunlight. We have a Urushi Studios India Xiphos R. We have a Nakaya long cigar, and this is like the Urushi Studios India, a Urushi pen. We have a Visconti Opera Silver Dust, and we have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is a Sailor 1911 large, and I wanted to say King of Pen there actually because I've been writing with a lot of King of Pens lately, but this is not a King of Pen. This is a small pen. A small pen for me, I should say. Now this does have a special nib on it, and this nib is a Sailor 1911 and it's a Naginata-Togi nib. And you can see that nib there, and it's a medium nib. So this is a regular Sailor 1911 large. You can post a cap on it, and it does have this specialty nib. So this is one of the earlier Naginata-Togi nibs before they took a hiatus. The next pen is an Atelier Lusso Carina, and this is in the Diamond Nebula. And if I show you this here, I think you can see why it's called the Diamond Nebula, because not only the colours but also that sort of silver dust, and this is actually silver dust. And then we have a Damascus sort of style hammered clip there. And then you can see the body here. The material is really quite stunning. It really is a beautiful pen. Now when I say a Damascus style clip, it's not actually Damascus. This is just, I believe, a brass, but it's hammered like you would see on some Damascus. Now this is a custom-made pen, and this was made by Eric at Atelier Lusso in California. And this really is a lovely pen. It comes with a number 6 size Yovo nib there, but I just love how this writes. It's a broad nib, and I love it. I do love how the Yovo broad nibs write. They're very smooth, very consistent as well. The next pen is another Atelier Lusso Carina, and this is the Black Ice. And you can see here, this is a very stunning pen. It has a little bit of a brass clip here, but it has tarnished, and I have let it tarnish. I probably will clean that up again at some point. But you can see here, this is made of Alumilite, and you'll see little bits here of metal that are really impregnated within that material. But this is a really lovely material, and you might be able to see here again on the clip, on the sort of end sort of finial there, there's a little bit there as well. So and also just around here as well. So this is a really nice pen. I love the material. This was handpicked by me. It's not smooth necessarily because there are lots of like little, if I try to show you here, little bits of metal in there. So you do kind of feel that texture a little bit. Again, this has a number 6 size Yovo broad nib, and it's just a pen I love writing with. Can you post these caps? You can a little bit. They don't post deeply, but I don't post them. I find that these actually are very long pens for me. I say very long. There's this one here that won't actually fit in the pen tray, which I'll get to in a little bit. The next pen is a Pelikan M800 Royal Gold Raden. So yes, this is a Raden pen. It is an M800, and you'll see there the artist's signature there. But this is abalone shell, and it just absolutely sparkles and just changes colour. Pelikan did actually bring out a, I want to say platinum version of this. This comes with a number 6 size Pelikan 18 karat gold nib. It's a broad nib. The platinum version is more like a silver colour instead of gold. I like that, but I prefer the gold version. A number of people have actually asked me, would I actually go and buy that one? I think one of these is enough. These are not cheap pens. These are expensive pens, and I think it would have to be something a little bit different for me to buy it, or certainly a lot cheaper for me to buy it. The next pen is its oldest brother or sibling, and this is the Pelikan M1000 Raden Starlight. And I just love this pen. So I have this one inked up with me this week. And you can see there, it has the lovely sort of gold dust here, but then you have the Raden stripes there. And you can just see that there in the body as I twist that pen. It really does sparkle. Now, the difference with these is that they do have a number 8 size nib, Pelikan nib, and these are a lot more bouncier than the M800s. So that is another one I have inked up this week. And then its sibling, the M1000 Raden Sunlight. And this doesn't have any gold dust sprinkled around the body, but it does have all of the abalone shell Raden stripes there, and you can just see that, and it is absolutely gorgeous. You can also see here the artist signature as well, and again this has a Pelikan M1000 number 8 size nib, and this is a medium nib. So these M1000 special editions do normally only come with a medium nib. So if you want a broad nib or a fine or an extra fine nib, then you would normally need to get those nibs swapped out. You can buy replacement nibs for the Pelikans and swap them in. So these unfortunately do just come with a medium nib. But for me, I like the medium nib, so it's not an issue. But I know for some people who really prefer maybe a broader or a finer nib, then that might be an issue for you. But I have that one inked up as well this week. The next one is this, and this is a Urushi pen from Urushi Studios, India. And this is the Xiphos R, and it is a stunning Urushi pen. It's in an Aka-Tamenuri like finish, and it really is beautiful. I love Aka-Tamenuri, and I like it a lot. It does have a black section on it. It has a Yovo nib, and it's a medium nib. But this just writes really well. I'd have to say out of the box, the writing experience was typical of Yovo medium nibs for me, in the sense that it wrote very dry, and the tines were very tight, so I did have to floss those tines a bit and just sort of open them up and just make it a little bit more of a wetter writing pen. But this is beautiful, beautiful material there. So Urushi is quite hard, quite soft, and quite smooth to the touch. It's hard in terms of a lacquer. It's soft in terms of the touch, and it's a very glossy like finish. And then recently I decided that I would get my first Nakaya, and I decided to go for this one. And this is a really lovely Nakaya. It's the long cigar, and I kind of wanted it in an Aka-Tamenuri, but I decided I would go for this version instead. And it's a beautiful version there. So it's really a sort of a reddish brown, and it is a Aka-Tamenuri, but it is a really beautiful colour. So it's almost like a reddish brown or a brick brown, a brick red maybe. It has a Nakaya nib on there, and this has, you'll see there, the nib designation is in Japanese, but that under the 14K that reads medium soft. So this is a soft nib, or what some retailers term a flex nib. It's not really a flex nib, but it's a softer nib. Typically Nakaya, so Nakaya use platinum nibs because they're part of the same company. So that nib does look like a platinum nib. It essentially is. And platinum nibs typically are quite hard. They're, in my sense, as hard as nails. They really are, in terms of seeing that the nib is a 14 karat gold nib. They are very hard, very rigid nibs. So that's why I wanted a soft medium on this one, and I decided to get that, and I really am enjoying that for the moment. But as you can see here, it is a very long pen, so it will not fit in my pen tray. The next pen I have inked up is the Visconti Opera Silver Dust. Now, a lot of retailers actually list this as an Opera Master. It's not an Opera Master. Visconti did actually mistakenly list it as an Opera Master when it was in pre-release, and they sent out all of their material. And a lot of retailers just didn't pick up on that and didn't change it. But it is an Opera, and the reason why it's an Opera is that it doesn't have a metal section. It's shorter in length, and it's sort of typically, the majority of these pens actually came with a CR18, a chromium 18 nib, which is essentially a steel or chrome nib. This I got a 23 karat palladium nib on this one, and this is a 1.3mm stub nib, and I love how this writes. I really do. And I normally put grey ink in here, but I decided I would try an orange ink for a change, and you can see that orange ink sloshing around inside there. But this is an Opera, not an Opera Master. And then the final pen we have here is this one, and it's the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico, and this is in the red marble. And you can see that there. It really is a lovely marble. And marble is heavy, and likewise the cap, the filling knob, and the section is made of silver, AG925. This has a 23 karat palladium medium nib on it. This is a heavy pen. This is a very heavy cap, but I love it. I absolutely love writing with this. To that point, I bought another one of these in the lapis lazuli recently, and I love that as well. So for me, this is a really nice pen. You don't want to post this cap. If you are a cap poster, this is going to be very back heavy, and you're going to be struggling to hold that pen to the page. But I'm not a cap poster, so for me this is perfect. I find this a really good weighted balance. There's a bit of a back weight here on all of this silver here, but there's also a lot of silver here as well. And if I hold it a little bit more up around these hook safe lock threads, I find it's a lot more well balanced. So for me, I love writing with this pen, and I have that one inked up this week too. So I think with that, let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen is the Sailor 1911 large with a Naginata-Togi nib. So we'll do an ink swatch here, and you can see a Naginata-Togi tends to be more wider on the cross strokes than the downstrokes, which is really opposite to, say, a broad nib, or a stub nib I should say. So this is the Sailor 1911, and it's the large, and this is a Naginata-Togi nib. But I just love that line variation. This is a 21 karat gold nib. I just had to look at that. because I wasn't too sure, because I know the King of Pen nibs are 21 karat gold, but I wasn't too sure on this one. Now, the ink on here is Franklin, Christoph, Sweet, Maroon. But you can kind of see, when you print with this, the line variation is quite different to what you would expect. The next pen is an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a broad nib, and I find Jowo broad nibs very consistent in the way that they write. So this is an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula, and it is a broad steel nib, and it's a Jowo nib. And then the ink in here is KWZ Gummy Berry, but that is an ink that I love a lot, KWZ Gummy Berry. The next pen is an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Black Ice Alumilite. So we'll do an ink swatch. And again, this is another broad nib, and I decided I'd put an orange ink in here today. So this is an Atelier Lusso Carina, and it's in the Black Ice, and it is a broad steel nib. And then the ink in here is Robert Oster, and it's Tangerine. Which is actually quite a nice orange ink. It's a little bit more, I'd say, on the darker side of orange. The next ink is a Pelikan M800 Royal Gold Raden. So let's do an ink swatch. And again, this is another broad nib. And so this is the Pelikan M800 Royal Gold Raden, and it's a broad nib, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is KWZ Old Gold. And this is a little bit of a sort of a greeny gold colour ink. The next pen is the Pelikan M1000, and this is the Raden Starlight. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is quite a punchy red ink. So this is the Pelikan M1000, and it's the Raden Starlight. Now this is a medium 18 karat gold nib, but if you compare the two of these nibs, they're pretty much identical in terms of line width. One's a broad, one's a medium. And the ink in here is Diamine, and it's Ink Vent, and it's Fire Embers, which is a really lovely red ink. The next pen is the Pelikan M1000 Raden Sunlight. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is another red ink, but I would say this is a little bit more on the brighter side, a little bit more orangey red. So this is the Pelikan M1000 Raden Sunlight. And again, this is a medium 18 cat gold nib, and the ink in here is diamine, and it is ink vent, and it's ho ho ho. And yes, it is getting closer to Christmas. The next pen is a Urushi Studios India, and this is the Xiphos R. So I think let's do a writing sample, do an ink swatch first. Now this is a medium nib, it's a Yovo nib. So it does take a little bit more colouring because it is a narrower nib. So this is the Urushi Studios India, and it's the Xiphos R, and it's a medium steel nib, so Yovo nib. And then the ink in here is diamine, poppy, red. But you can see the difference here between these three red inks from diamine. The next pen is a Nakaya long cigar, and this is in the, I will get this right, toki-tamenuri. So let's do an ink swatch here. Now this has what is deemed a flex nib by some retailers, and it's not really a flex nib, but these Nakaya nibs tend to be more on the stiffer side, more very rigid nibs. So this is a Nakaya, and it is the cigar long, or long cigar, and it's in toki-tamenuri. And it is a medium soft nib, and it's a 14 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is diamine matador. And I say a medium soft nib, so you'll see here if I do this, you can get quite a bit of difference in line variation out of it. The next pen is a Visconti Opera Silver Dust, and this is getting a bit low on ink. I'd say a little bit low. It's actually quite a lot of ink left in there. So we'll do an ink swatch, and you'll see here that this is a honker of a stub nib, that it really puts down a wide line. So this is a Visconti Opera Silver Dust in a 1.3 millimeter, and it's a 23 cat palladium stub nib. And then the ink in here is Abraxas orange, which to me, when it's wet, it looks more of a brown, almost like an autumn oak or a Herbin Ombre de Bermenie. But once it's dry, it actually dries a lot more fainter as an orange ink. The next pen is a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And you can see here that this is a nice red ink. And I say red ink, I'm going to say red ink loosely because it's not red. So this is a Visconti, Medici, and it's Il Magnifico, and it is a medium 23 cat palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Pelikan. Have you guessed it yet? Edelstein, Star Ruby. It's a pink ink, not a red ink. I normally ink this pen up with a red ink, but I have been going with pink, and I do like that ink a lot. So I think let's go through these inks, these pens inked up a little bit one more time. So we have a Sailor 1911 large with a Naginata-Togi. It's a 21 karat gold nib inked up with Franklin Christoph Sweet Maroon. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina Diamond Nebula in a broad steel nib inked up with KWZ Gummy Berry. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina Black Ice in a broad steel nib inked up with Robert Oster Tangerine. We have a Pelikan M800 Royal Gold Raden in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Old Gold. Now this ink goes down more of a greenish gold, and it actually looks more gold, I would say, when it's dry. We have a Pelikan M1000 Raden Starlight in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Ink Vent Fire Embers. We have a Pelikan M1000 Raden Sunlight in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Ink Vent Ho Ho Ho. We have a Urushi Studios India Xiphos R in a medium steel nib inked up with Diamine Poppy Red. We have a Nakaya Cigar Long in toki-tamenuri with a medium soft 14 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Matador. We have a Visconti Opera Silver Dust in a 1.3mm 23 karat palladium stub nib inked up with a Abraxas Orange, and this is going a little bit more of an orangey colour. And then we have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Pelikan Edelstein Star Ruby. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.